Hey y'all, I'm Brandon, and today on Baking with Brandon, we're making a no-bake Snickers cheesecake. Now, I gotta be 100% honest. Cheesecake has never been my favorite dessert, but it's a dessert that a lot of people love, especially people in my family. Like my husband, my sister, my mom, they all love cheesecake. And it just so happens that my mom's favorite candy is a Snickers bar. So when I decided to make cheesecake, I said, let me try to combine these two things. My mom's favorite cheesecake and also her favorite candy bar, a Snickers. Now, today we're gonna break this cheesecake down into a couple different steps. So we're really gonna focus on 3 different skills here. We're gonna make a crust, we're gonna make a caramel sauce, and we're also gonna make the no-bake cheesecake batter. Now, more specifically for our crust, we're gonna make a graham cracker crust. For our caramel, we're gonna focus on the flavors inside of a Snickers bar, and we're gonna make a salted peanut caramel. For our no-bake cheesecake batter, we're gonna flavor it with Nutella, and that's gonna give us a beautiful chocolate flavor like what you would find in a Snickers. Now, when we say no-bake cheesecake, what we're really talking about is the cheesecake batter. Traditionally, when you make a cheesecake, you're using eggs in the batter, so of course you're gonna have to bake that cheesecake. That involves doing a water bath, and we don't wanna focus on that today. So what I'm gonna use instead is gelatin, and I'm gonna put that into the cheesecake batter. What that's gonna do is it's gonna allow me to just put the cheesecake into the fridge, and in the fridge, it will firm up and take shape. I won't have to bake it at all. This no-bake Snickers cheesecake is truly the best of both worlds. It takes all the flavors of a cheesecake, but boosts them up, adds to it by adding in Nutella and a salted peanut caramel. Whether you're a fan of cheesecake or Snickers, or hopefully both, this is the perfect recipe to satisfy both of those desires. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're gonna start by putting the graham crackers in a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can always throw them in a bag and just mash them up. We're just gonna pulse those until we get a fine crumb. After we pour the crumb out into a mixing bowl, we're gonna add some seasonings to this crust so it's not so bland. We're gonna go ahead and add our brown sugar, our regular granulated sugar, and then to give it a little bit of spice, we're gonna add some cinnamon. We're gonna use melted butter to bind everything together. So after you add the melted butter into the crumb mix, you're just gonna use a fork and blend everything together until you get a beautiful crust that looks like this. For our cheesecake, we're using a springform pan. So for the crust, I'm gonna put all of my crumbs into the springform, and I'm gonna press everything out using a glass cup. I just find it's easiest to use a glass cup like this because you get into all the edges. You can, of course, use a spatula or your hands, and you just wanna press things out until it looks like this. For our salted peanut caramel, we're gonna start by putting our sugar into a saucepan on medium heat. I'm gonna use my spatula to make sure that I have an even layer of sugar, and then I'm just gonna let it rest while the sugar starts to melt. The sugar is gonna go through a couple different stages, so I've included pictures here to let you know. Cooking sugar down into a caramel can be kind of scary because you of course don't wanna burn anything, but these are the different stages that your caramel is going to go through. Cut my cold butter into cubes, and I'm gonna add that into my melted sugar. It's gonna smell so good at this point, but it is going to bubble because that butter is so cold. Just keep stirring. After that, I'm gonna add in my cream. Same thing here, because the cream is colder than the sugar, it is gonna bubble. Just keep stirring until everything comes together. I'm gonna take the mixture off heat and add in those peanuts, and it's gonna turn into a beautiful salted peanut caramel that looks exactly like this. At this point, I could just pour this out and eat it all. After everything comes together, we're going to take that salted peanut caramel sauce and we're going to pour it directly over the graham cracker pie crust that we made. We're going to put this into the fridge and let it rest while we make our cheesecake batter. Our cheesecake batter is of course going to start with cream cheese. We want that cream cheese to be at room temperature so it's not too difficult to mix using our standing mixer. Fitted with the whisk attachment, we're going to mix that on medium-high speed for at least a minute so we can add some air in and get a nice fluffy cream cheese mixture. To that, we're going to add some powdered sugar, and that's just going to take down some of the sourness and give our cream cheese a nice sweet taste. I've taken my mixing bowl off the standing mixer to add in the Nutella. I just find this to be easier and less risky. You can definitely keep it on the standing mixer if you prefer. After I get all of that Nutella in, I'm going to put it back on the standing mixer and I'm going to mix all of that Nutella into the cheesecake mixture. Now while it's mixing, I'm just going to add in my heavy cream, and this is going to help everything come together so that we get a very, very smooth cheesecake batter base. Gelatin is our secret ingredient for a no-bake cheesecake. The gelatin is going to allow the cheesecake to take shape in the fridge instead of having to bake it. To bloom our gelatin, we're going to start with cold water, and we're going to sprinkle our unflavored gelatin powder over that cold water. Using cold water at first is really important. It's going to allow the gelatin powder to absorb and create a gel. If you use hot water, it won't break up correctly. After we've dissolved in the cold water, we're going to go back with our hot water just to make sure that everything is dissolved correctly. We're going to stir it with a fork, and after we have dissolved that into a liquid, we're going to pour it into our cheesecake batter. And then just whisk that in and make sure everything is fully incorporated. Now that our beautiful cheesecake batter has come together, we're just going to take it and pour it directly over the salted peanut caramel that we made previously. After you have a nice smooth layer of cheesecake on top, you're just going to cover that up with plastic and you're going to place it into the fridge for 6 to 24 hours to allow the cheesecake to firm up and take shape in the springform pan. Now our cheesecake is done. It's been in the fridge for about 24 hours. We're sure that it's held its shape. But like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not the biggest fan of cheesecake. So for the first time on this channel, I'm not going to be the one who tries the dessert. I'm going to leave it to some real cheesecake experts, some people who love cheesecake. They're going to give you some honest feedback.
This is good. You have to make it. It's so good. Everyone's gonna be really impressed. I'll eat this whole thing right now.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's super peanut buttery with all the peanuts at the bottom. It's chocolatey. It's super smooth. You have to make this. It's it's so good. I might be biased because that is my husband, but it's so good, y'all.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited. I can't get it. Thank you, son. Everybody knows how much I love chocolate. This is so good. Love it, love it, love it. Love you.
There you have it, some feedback from the experts, and I'm really glad they love this recipe. Don't forget to give my video a like, and of course, subscribe to the channel. When you try this recipe, leave a comment down below and let me know how it went. Thanks for watching the video today, and of course, thank you for baking with Brandon. A salted caramel salted peanut caramel into of course, thank you for breaking with Brandon. Breaking.